For those of you who are joining us in the last few moments, welcome. Week 2 of New Journeys International Welcome. I'm excited to have you here this morning. Thanks for tuning in. We're here to have a conversation about meeting your head peer leaders. We have a handful of them on the call, and we'll introduce you to them in a second. But before we go any further than that, just want to say thanks for tuning in. Any questions, comments, feel free to raise your hand. Feel free to type in the chat. Feel free to put your mic on and communicate with us. We're happy to have a conversation and engage with you in the ways that make sense for you. But in terms of our conversation for today, meeting your head peer leaders, why is that important? The first and foremost thing we want you to know is this is a way for you to understand who one of your key supports are in your first year. And so whether that means we're in a virtual setting, whether that means we are on campus with a few of you that might be, this is a great support. And these are upper year students that are excited to meet you, work with you, get to know you, all those sorts of things. And so in this session today, you have a chance to meet some of these people and ask some of your fellow questions to some of your fellow students. So what are you curious about? What do you want to know? What's a burning question? And so Tyler's done a great job in the previous week to have conversations with some of you to find out what are you curious about. And we've tracked those questions. We're going to ask those questions to these upper year students. But in case you have anything else you want to know, this is a great space and opportunity to do stuff like that in a real time setting. Also, we're going to have kind of a conversation a little more broadly about how you can reach out for more support, particularly in a virtual environment this year. So if there are questions about, if I'm not on campus, how do I reach you, head peer leader, or how do I contact someone, or what do I do? That's going to kind of come out in some of the answers that your upper year peer leaders and head peer leaders will talk to you about. So that's kind of the forecast for what we're kind of doing for the next little bit of our time together. But rather than get into the content, let's also kind of get into some of the connections. So who's in the room? And so maybe I'll let my awesome colleague Tyler start, and I'll kind of follow up, and we'll introduce you to the rest of the team.
Hi. So thank you so much for coming today, everyone. My name is Tyler Cousin. If this is your first time coming, if you came last week at all, unfortunately, you're way too familiar with me already. I apologize. So in case this is your first time meeting me, I work with the International Programs Office, so I'm the Student Life Officer, and if you're in the IFP, you'll be seeing me a whole lot more. I'll be working with you to help create programming throughout the year and just making sure your year goes as well as possible. A little bit about me. I went to U of T as a new college student. I graduated a few years ago, and I never left. I just kept working here because I loved it so much. And I guess random thing about me, because he just happened to come, I have a dog. And that's it. That's me.
Awesome. Thanks, Tyler. And so hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Todd Blanc. I'm the Assistant Dean for Student Life and Leadership at New College. What does that mean? Really what that means is that I work to support all students that are not living in the New College residence, but I also have an emphasis on all the incoming first-year students. So that means if you're part of the International Foundations program, we'll be working with Tyler a little bit more closely, but we still connect. And if you're an international student not in the IFP, you'll work with me a lot. Particularly moving toward a virtual environment, a lot of remote structures to our work here at the university. That means a lot of students aren't living in residence, and so that means even more students will be connecting with me. But I think the points of note are that I oversee all of the student life programs and the first year programs at the college. And so you may have already seen a couple things already, some emails this summer, some Instagram accounts to follow, some Facebook pages here and there as to things that are called like the first year experience. That includes programs like SPROUT Mentorship, and it includes programs like New Journeys, like today. It also includes a program called New Roots. These are programs that me and my team oversee, and I'm happy to kind of speak more to that as we kind of go. But I want to kind of give a little insight to that. Because of my connection to the college, I'm not a University of Toronto student. I went elsewhere in my undergrad and my grad program, but I've been at the college for just over 4 years now. Love being here, love the students, love the community campus. Super happy to have the role that I have and get to work with the students that I do. And something unique about me, what would I say? I don't have a dog like Tyler, but like Tyler, I have a bike. And so one thing I love to do in the city this summer is actually commuting to campus by bike. So those that maybe aren't familiar with Toronto, we have a lot of new bike lanes that just been putting in. And so I feel a lot more safe commuting to campus on my bike. So with that, I want to also introduce you to the most important people in this conversation, other than perhaps yourselves, are our head peer leaders. And so I have an order here. We have 5 people joining us today. Maybe I'll begin with Amy to introduce yourself, say hello, a quick bit about yourself, and then we'll pass it on from there. So Amy, the floor is yours.
Sure. So hi, my name is Amy. I am one of your HPLs for this year. I'm actually an incoming third-year student at New College. And I also live in residence, so if you have any questions about that, you can hit me up, whatever. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second.
All good.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting some of you in the breakout rooms and also like chatting with you throughout the rest of the year.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. Angela, you're up.
Hi everyone, my name is Anjali. I'm going into my third year. I'm doing a major in criminology and a double minor in sociology and political science. I'm very excited to speak with you all, and if you have any questions, feel free to talk to me or the other HPLs about it. We're really excited to get to know you.
Awesome. Thanks, Anjali. Jerry, you're up.
Hello everyone, I'm Jerry. I'm starting my fourth year. I'm an international student, pursuing a specialist program in sociology and a minor in anthropology. I lived in residence for the first 2 years, so any questions about that, I'll be happy to answer. Very nice to meet all of you. Hope to chat in the breakout room later. So yeah.
Great, Jerry. Thank you. Mystica, you're up.
Hello everyone, I'm Mystica Terrence. I'm going into my fourth year and I'm a life science student. I'm mainly specialized in doing a lot of student life here at New College, including the student council and the SPROUT program. So if you have any questions about student life, go ahead and ask me.
Perfect. And then finally, Stella.
Hi everyone, my name is Stella. I'm going to be going into third year doing a specialist in physiology and a minor in immunology. I'm also involved on a variety of different things like around campus, from dance to pre-med related things to leadership like this. So if you have any questions about that or about anything, I'm always here, and I'm really looking forward to being a head peer leader this year, because both as a newsie and a leader last year, orientation was one of my favorite parts of the year. So I'm excited to be here once again.
Awesome. Thank you, Stella. And thank you, everyone. So again, we have an awesome roster of people who are committed, excited, looking forward to meeting each of you. I think this small sample size will be reflective of the larger group of people maybe you've had a chance of contacting with this summer, which goes to my last point before we go to more of the questions, is have you checked out these resources? And so maybe I would just say, if you haven't already, I'll bring attention to two. So first, this summer at your UToronto email, your mail.utoronto email, you should have received, I think at this point, 6 or maybe 7 issues of our My New Roots e-newsletter, or e-digest, we call that. And so these emails go out to all incoming students by design. They're meant to kind of just talk about some of the things that students might be experiencing throughout the summer, some of the questions that people may be experiencing, is trying to time it with that. And so if you haven't read these things yet, that's okay. But people like just the 5 that you've met, there are peer leaders that are on those emails that are waiting for your response, excited to answer your questions, excited to just connect and say hello to you. I know a lot of people have, but if you haven't, I would highly encourage you to reach out. It's not too late for that. And so that is your My New Roots newsletter. You'll see that. That was just the first issue we did back in about June. So they're on Mondays. If you're looking in your inbox, they're every second Monday. The second resource I want to also point your attention to, and I probably could add a couple more to this, is we have a couple of social media accounts that are quite robust and quite informative for incoming students that are at New College, whether that be an IFP or for international students. One is our Instagram page, NC Orientation. Sorry, that's a little bit small. Maybe Tyler or one of the HPLs can put these handles in the chat for me. So we have at NC Orientation. We also have at Life at New. And so the difference is orientation is really speaking about that first week of programming, first 2 weeks of programming. That actually starts next Monday. So if you're curious about what that's looking like, it's a free program to register, really great program to check out. We encourage all students that are new to the campus to check that out. We also have Life at New, which is more for the entire year. And that is from my office, the Office of Residence and Student Life. A great account to follow to find out just some profiles on students. You might, I think Mystica's on there. I think a picture of her somewhere. You might see some other student leaders on there. Kind of to get a little more of the human side. Who are these people we're going to meet? Who are we joining in the community? Great chance to find out what New College is more about. And then for those folks that are actually in the IFP program, Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong, but the handle is IFP_life or IFP Life is a great account to follow specifically for IFP students. So yeah, and this also duplicates on Facebook, so people are more attuned to that. We have Twitter accounts as well, but they're not as robust. So I really, in order, recommend the Instagram followed by the Facebook pages. Anything to add to that piece there, Tyler?
No, I think that's great.
Awesome. So as I look at our account and hopefully see some new followers, that would be ideal. But right, so in terms of kind of how we want to move through this now, we recognize that this is a lot of talking at you, and it's really important to kind of let us, answer some questions for you, but really move into a chance where you can ask some questions to us. So Tyler's going to send us into a breakout. Half of you will be with myself, half of you will be with Tyler and some of the HPLs. Tyler and I aren't going to be doing most of the talking. We're probably going to let most of the HPLs and each of you have a chat. But if you're happy to do a conversation question in the chat, vocally on mic, or whatever it may be for you, I'm happy to kind of do that.
So first question is, what will orientation be like? So this year, unfortunately, orientation is going to be online. It is a new way of experiencing everything. So I think it's pretty cool that you guys are going to be one of the first people to experience a completely online and virtual orientation. This year it's mainly going to be online events. You might have, if you've signed up already, received Zoom information either on Presence or through email of all the different events that we're having. A few of the things we might have are trivia nights, family feud, game nights. We also have a lot of information sessions, a consent session. So it's really a fun time. We get to meet other students in first year as well, and get to enjoy your first year entering. Do you have anything to add, Anjali?
No, I pretty much covered all of it, but like she said, it'll still be really fun. You'll still meet all of the upper year students and meet some of your fellow first year students. And it'll be a great experience regardless. So we're hoping that you're all pumped up. Oh, there's a question.
Yeah. So I really recommend, if you haven't signed up yet, go ahead and sign up. It's going to be a super fun time. It's similar to New Journeys, where you are going to be meeting a lot of different students coming into their first year. And you get to meet them, have fun, learn about the transition, and get to know everybody.
This might be slightly confusing for some, but orientation is the same thing as New Roots, which is what starts next week. It's all the same thing. I know a few students have asked me that, but yeah, it's all the same.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You want to hop on to the second question, Anjali?
Sure. So what is SPROUT? What is the first year experience? So SPROUT essentially is this mentorship program for first year students at New College, and you're paired up with an upper leader such as Misty or myself. And what we do is we guide you. There's like little fun activities that happen in person, but not really right now. But there are these really nice de-stress activities that happen, especially during exam season. And what you do is you have that one peer leader who you can look up to for support, and they'll basically guide you just like a mentor throughout the year and help you with any questions or clarifications you need in your first year. And in the little events that happen on a, I would say, monthly basis, you meet the other mentees in the program and the other mentors, and it's just a really nice way to meet people and to have your questions answered. And it's really great because you have that one mentor who's just kind of there for you, and they can like easily guide you, and they're like your one focal point of contact. So that's SPROUT. You want to go?
Yeah, so just to add a little bit to SPROUT is usually if you are part of New Roots / orientation, your peer leader, who's your mentor then, will actually carry along with you throughout the entire year. So if, for example, it's January, you're scared, exams are coming, exams just finished, a new semester starting up, and you're worried about something, your mentor is there to support you and help you and give you the resources that you need to succeed in school. The first year experience. So this is actually a collection of all the different things that you've been hearing about recently. So it includes the New Journeys, it includes the New Roots, which is the e-mentorship and the online issues. That also includes orientation, which would be the new one time this year. It also includes the SPROUT Mentorship. It's kind of an entire collection of events and programs to help and make your first year experience meaningful and meaningful and productive. So it's usually there to help you succeed throughout your first year.
So why should you, that part's cutting off, what does that say? Why should I get involved with it? Well, you should get involved with it because it is fun, and I'm sure everyone likes to have fun. But more importantly, it is a really, really great way to meet people And just as incoming first year students, international, domestic, first year is scary. And that is something that I think Misty and I and Tyler can attest to. That first year is a very scary experience. And it's sometimes you may find yourself being like, you don't have as many friends, you're still trying to navigate the campus, you're still trying to meet these people, and orientation and this SPROUT and all these events and activities that kind of like revolve around the first year experience really, really help you get to know other people who are in the same shoes as you, and for you to kind of branch out and meet these new people and make friends. And at the same time, it's really great for you in the sense that you can meet upper year students and you can really, really take the guidance that they provide and really get all the like insights and all the tips into U of T and U College, which really helps because we've been in your shoes and we've also had mentors in the past and they've helped us a lot in like many, many ways. And so in the same way, we're here so we can support you guys, so your experience is as great and as fun as it can be. So you should get involved because it's fun, but also it's a really, really great experience to meet people and to get advice.
Also, it gives the notion that you're never alone. When you get involved in the first year experience and the entire New Roots experience, you always have somebody who has your back. There's always an upper year who's there to support you and help you, give you advice, as well as all your other peers you're connected with. So if you ever feel alone or scared, or it's awkward now that everything's online, you're not meeting people in person as much as you would like to, you always have someone to get your back. So it's always that support behind you.
So I'm
sorry, if I can add something, because
Yeah.
I absolutely want to just second everything Mystica and Anjali said. But also, I mean, this year in particular, I don't think I have to tell anyone, is different from other years. A lot of us are going to be studying virtually, and a whole lot of us in this room are potentially going to be studying online virtually entirely. Like, we won't even be on campus. We might be in our home country or in a different city, different province, whatever. And a lot of students have been reaching out to me and asking, well, how do I meet people if it's all over the internet, and will those connections be genuine? Like, can I really make a friend in university online if we only ever talk through FaceTime or chat and stuff like that? And the answer is, I really hope so. The whole point of SPROUT and first year experience and orientation this year, all of it, is to try to help make that happen. And if down the road, for whatever reason, you find that isn't happening, talk to us and we'll try to do whatever we can to help you. But we're hoping, and we've put a lot of work, and Anjali and Mystica have put a lot of work into making sure that these programs actually do that for you. So they're entirely free. They cost $0.00, and they're hopefully going to help you make some friends and make some connections, just like they were saying. Even if you're not on campus or in Canada or in a different time zone, I can promise you that a lot of other students are as well. And I'm willing to bet that a bunch of students are also in your time zone, so it's also not inconvenient for you. That's all.
Thank you, Tyler. So next question is, I'm afraid if I'm involved, I won't have time to focus on my studies and my grades will suffer. Did you have that concern in first year? 100% yes. Like, I cannot, I'll like bold this, but 100% I had the very same concern in first year. And I was genuinely really concerned that I heard all these rumors that my grades would drop and that it's so difficult. And I was worried because it was a completely new experience and I didn't know people. So I was really, really concerned and worried that my grades would suffer. But I guess orientation was really like an eye-opener for me because I understood the importance of having this peer support, this upper year support, and I understood the advantages that it brought. And so I realized that getting involved was also a part of your university experience. It's not just school. And you slowly, as you get involved and as you start your academic year, you kind of start learning how to balance these things. No one expects you to know it right off the bat. No one expects you to be able to juggle everything on your first day of school. But it is something that kind of just comes with the experience. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but it's just kind of something that you learn as you go. And it's something that you do because you love it. So you get involved because you want to, and you get involved because you see the advantages that it presents, and you want to meet these people, and you want to have this kind of support. It's not true that you won't have time to focus on your studies. At the end of the day, that's completely up to you and how you time manage. And we can't sit here and be like, this is the key to success, because there's no like holy grail answer. But it is not true that like that would be like a big myth, that you won't have time to focus on your grades if you get involved, because that at the end of the day is up to you as a student and what kind of activities you're involved in and that kind of stuff. Spoke a lot. Misty, you want to go ahead?
Honestly, I second everything you say. I've had that exact same concern. I actually, I'm disappointed to say this, but I actually had that huge concern that I didn't do anything my first year. All I did was go to school, studied, came back home. Go to school, studied, came back home.
And now she's so involved in everything.
I didn't go to any clubs. I didn't get any part of any groups. I slowly started actually like second semester of first year, where I heard about the orientation program and how to be an orientation leader. And since I had such a fun time during my orientation first year, I'm like, I'm totally going to do this next year. So I signed up for that. And that's slowly how I started getting involved. A lot of these are not high risk. If you look into clubs that you'd like to see, many of them aren't super time consuming. For example, like I'm part of the University of Toronto Women's Association, and we have a general membership, and all it is really just communicating on a Facebook page or talking to different alumni. It's very low commitment, but you still have time to meet different people, be part of different events, and learn about different new ideas and values and ideas. So I think one of those things is to slowly integrate you. Just meet a couple people here and there, and it's not a lot. It's also all about balance. If you feel like your studies are suffering because of the club, it's not 100% commitment. People understand that some people have different requirements and needs. So if you go like to the president of a club you joined in the beginning of the semester and be like, I can't handle this, they'll totally understand as well. And you're allowed to stop doing the club if you feel like you're not able to balance it. So it's not always you have to give 100% to everything. It's always you're able to maybe give like 80% to studies and 20% to being in a club. So it's not all the time 100% commitment. So you always have the option of moving back and forth. Because honestly, all these UFT students are super empathetic, and these are the people who are running these clubs and being part of these programs. So they're totally understanding about what people go through.
And just to add that the first year is just all about experiences and kind of like getting the gist of new college and U of T and university life. So in no way are you required to get involved in the second day of the first week of school as a freshman. Like that is not something that is required of you, and people go at different paces. And if you see someone get involved right off the bat, good for them. But just because they're doing it does not mean that you have to equally be as involved right off the bat, because it takes people different amounts of time to get adjusted and to get involved. And if you feel that first year you'd rather focus on just your grades, just the adjustment in school, that's totally fine too. Like we said, there's no one perfect way to do it. There's no perfect timeline to follow. And just because you start a little bit later and you want to just take your first year to explore different clubs and kind of just hop all over the place, that's totally okay too, because it's just about like getting experiences and learning and kind of adjusting to university life than it is like a race. It's a marathon, not a race. Someone told me that, and that just kind of stuck with me forever. But yeah.
Yeah, and to cater a little bit more to the international student, there's a lot of clubs and associations that are more involved with you. There's a lot of international students starting their own clubs. For example, say you're from Hong Kong, there's a Hong Kong Students Association. So everybody in the club is either related to, comes from, or ethnically connected to Hong Kong. And usually they're all there creating events, and it's a huge community. It's like finding your own family. Another thing I would say is like the Korean Life Science Students Association. That's like an entire community of Korean life science students that are there to support and help each other. So getting involved is not like 100% joining in a club and being on varsity, or it's not like creating presentations and being part of a conference. It's being part of a family and a community that's there to support you. So I totally recommend you going onto ULife. We have a website called ulife.utoronto.ca. I'll search it up and put it into the chat right now so you guys can explore that. And they have the list of all the different clubs across the 3 UFT campuses, and you could search through them through your interests as well as what you're looking for. So I totally recommend you go ahead and look through a few of those. Oh, thank you, Tyler. You've already put it into the chat.
You're welcome.
So you can go ahead and look through those and actually find out before you start school if there's anybody you would actually like to reach out to. And a lot of these club presidents and leaders are more than happy to have new members and also connect with you. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I think that's one piece of advice I'd like to give. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because you're not going to get rejected real hard. I think a lot of people are welcoming here at UFT.
Mm-hmm. So what is food and residence like? Well, personally, I never lived on residence, so I don't have like a really, really cohesive answer, but I had a lot of friends who did. So what is food and residence like? Okay, so for food, I know that there are like different meal plans that you can buy. I really hope Misty knows more about this, but just about like residence in general, I can talk about the experience because a lot of my friends who lived on residence really enjoyed it. They thought it was a great way for you, again, to meet people and for you to be so close to campus. It definitely really helped them kind of time manage and get adjusted into university life. You have like different floors, so you have meetings on your floors, and you have these upper year students who are dons, and they basically stay in your house on your floor, and they're like your go-to. They do all the programming and planning for events, and they're your go-to person for any questions or concerns you may have, and essentially they're getting paid to be there for you, and they will be there for you. So that's really great because you have a don who's super, super caring and super sweet, and they're just there for you, and they do all these like really cool like events and programs that you can get involved with along with people in your house and on your floor and even in your residence. And it's a great way to just meet people once again and just kind of bond is the best way to say it. But yeah, Misty.
Yeah, I guess I also haven't lived on residence, but I have heard a lot about it. I've been around New College a lot, so I understand the entire res life. So for food, as Andrew was talking, I'll just go off her. There are 3 different meal plans. One's, I can't 100% name them by name, but there are 3 different meal plans. There's one that's unlimited, and there's one that's lower slightly for people who usually go home on the weekends. It's usually like 2 swipes, meaning like you get to go inside at least 2 times a day. So that's like the lowest, and then the highest is unlimited, means you can go in as many times you'd like. Food there, they have a different variety. They always have different options. They have kosher, vegan, halal, vegetarian. They also have non-veg options. So you have all the options are there to accommodate you. So if you have any dietary restrictions, the New College cafeteria is always there to accommodate. A lot of the things that are usually always a staple is because of COVID-19, they have different meal times. So each floor usually has a different meal time to go in. So it's not too many people interacting. So if you're kind of scared of that for this coming year and you are living on res, they do have safety procedures in place for you to stay safe and always get your food and stay nourished. So don't worry too much about that. New College is on top of that. So it is a very safe environment if you're scared about maybe contracting COVID-19 or anything by interacting with others. They have made it pretty safe. All the staff has gone through training, so you should be okay in that sense. And as for residents, it's different for each one. People have a different experiences. We have 3 different res buildings at New College. We have 45 Wilcox, we have Wilson Hall, and we also have Wetmore Hall. And those are 3 different types of buildings with 3 different types of feelings and vibes. So if you are living in either of those, you've probably chosen specifically. Wetmore has more of a quiet community vibe, whereas Wilson has more of a social community vibe. And then 45 Wilcox is the more apartment building one, which has larger rooms and higher up stories. So things like that. Does anybody have any questions for us specifically? You can ask us anything, no matter how small it is. We're happy to answer.
I feel like we've just been like talking at you.
Yeah.
But
I know it's a lot of information, so if you need any clarifications, I've been talking very fast and I'm known to talk fast. So if I said something you don't understand, please put into the chat and I can talk to you. Oh, we have one from Shrui. How can I join the clubs? When do they start looking for new members usually? Well, luckily for you, since September is starting, all clubs are looking for new members and they have a lot of applications out or a lot of emails out. You could join. So actually what happens is the best thing to do is to look through the social media. What I said before is ulife.utoronto.ca. They have all the clubs that are registered to UFT. So if you want to look through that for your interests or things that you're interested in, you can go ahead, look for those names, and then search up their social media. UFT is really present on Facebook. So if you have a Facebook, that might be very helpful. And Instagram and Twitter is usually very present for all our social media clubs. It's not social media clubs, for clubs social media. So Facebook and Instagram is usually the number 2 things where people can get onto to start looking for clubs and looking for members. So if you don't have a Facebook yet, I highly recommend you get one, or an Instagram, to try and look at all these social medias and see when clubs start accepting new members. Okay, Caillou says, how does the exam look like in the first year course? Well, unfortunately, due to COVID-19, everything has been changing, so I can't 100% say with certainty how an exam will look like in an online class or a remote class. But usually what it is it's scheduled outside of the class time during the exam period. You can find those important dates if you search up University of Toronto important dates, and they usually tell you when the exam periods are. I'm not 100% sure. Sorry, Tyler, if you'd like to clarify for me about exam times and things for the IFP program.
Yes, so exams for the IFP will all be taking online, just like the rest of the program. Realistically, in terms of what the academic stuff for IFP is going to look like, I'll let the instructors explain that when we have the academic orientation in September. They know way more because they're literally writing the exam. So specifically for IFP, I'll leave it to them.
Yeah, perfect. We have a question from Siddharth who asks, how much free time do you guys get on average in first year? So I would say it's a lot about balance. It's about how much time you spend on your studies versus how much time you spend socializing. So for me personally, I had a decent amount of free time because I also like to have balance. So for me, a lot of the rules is for every hour you have in class, you spend 2 hours outside of class studying. So I kind of went by that, and that was just my own personal rule. It's like a kind of rule, but I went by that as well, and it gave me a lot of time to do what I wanted to love. I think one of the main things I'd recommend is don't lose yourself to school. You're still a person, you still have hobbies and joys, so don't put your focus entirely into school. And if you find that balance, you could usually have a really thriving year. We have a question from Edwina. Oh, Angeli just answered it. I'll just repeat out loud. So which residences are more quiet and which is more sociable? I would like to say Wetmore is more quiet. We have 2 different lounges, and the Wetmore lounge is more quiet and a place where people go to study, whereas the Wilson lounge is more of a community hub where they have a lot of events. So Wilson is a more sociable one. I wouldn't say the residence places are sociable. I'm just talking about the lounges and the areas where they're placed in.
The general vibe is essentially a lot of people hang out in Wilson Lounge because it's a lot bigger, and then it's just a really cool space to be in. So you have the Wilson Lounge, and then you have residences upstairs. So not residences, like floors upstairs. And so it's not that if you live in Wilson, then it'll be really loud and you won't be able to sleep or anything. Not the case at all. It's just the general vibe. A lot of people in Wilson like to come downstairs and just hang out in the lounge. And while you're going up, it's a little bit more sociable and like there are more people there and it's a little bit more loud, but that's not to say that you'll be disturbed in any way. And it's just that Wilson is very like readily available. Like when you enter new college, like everyone just goes to Wilson because it's just there. And it's kind of the first, yeah, and it's the first building, and that's where Todd's office is, like Orso. So the residence life office, and then the student life office, and then there's also like the writing center. So I guess that's why there are more people there. But Wetmore is a little bit, if you guys haven't been to New College yet, Wetmore is a little bit more behind Wilson. So a lot of people usually either don't know how to get there, even though it's very easy to get there if you want to. But a lot of people like just kind of pass by because it's a little bit more hidden, I would say. So that's why there aren't that many people in Wetmore. So if you would like a really quiet place to study, then Wetmore Lounge is a lot more quiet, because the only real like office or kind of place for people to be there is either the lounge or the cafeteria.
Yeah.
So
the IFP office is also in Wetmore, for your information. So
the IFP,
if you
I
are
did not know
part of the
that.
IFP program, you might be at Wetmore a little bit more than you might be at Wilson, because the office is there. A lot of your classes are happening here. That's mainly where you'll be situated. But you are more than welcome to go to different places. It's
no one's gonna be like, oh, are you like, where do you live? Are you in Wetmore or Wilson?
It's
none of that. No, I don't even live on resident. We don't even live on residence, and we're there all the time.
Yeah. So
just, it's kind of like every place has a culture. It just is, for some reason, the culture that Wilson is a little more lively, and that the Wetmore Lounge is just more of a quiet study space. I'm not sure why. It just is that way.
But
actually, like the little bit of the history behind it is two different people built those, and one person who designed the Wilson designed it so it was more lively and more of a community space, and the person who designed Wetmore actually made it more of a study and close community space. So those are like the two different sides. I know. Fun fact about New College.
I didn't even know that.
Fun facts about New College. Yeah. So those are the two different vibes. So they had two different philosophies about how UFT life should be. One person thought it should be more sociable and open, and that's how Wilson was built. And Wet was more for the closed study, small community. So if you look in there, Wilson has a lot of open, big tables, shared community spaces, long tables along a window, open spaces. Whereas Wetmore actually has more small, closed off little hubs and little tables that people can gather around. It kind of gives the two different vibes of studying in spaces. So if you'd like to sit in a more closed community, Wetmore is like the perfect place where you could sit. Whereas if you want to sit in a long row with lots of people, Wilson is where you can go to study. So that's kind of like the two different philosophies of study that people had, and that's how they built the different buildings. So that's kind of what we say when we say sociable versus quiet.
Yeah, sorry if that wasn't clear.
Yeah.
As you can tell, we're not really the best at explaining things. Also for Wilson, because like Misty and Tyler mentioned, there's a lot of like open space, a lot of kind of events or little like meetings or gatherings would happen there. So for example, if you're a part of SPROUT, then you'd have maybe like an event in Wilson Lounge, because there's a lot of open space. So it's easy to set up tables and to bring like a projector and everything.
Are happening. We have a lot of indoor gyms. We have 3 different gyms at UFT. So we still have soccer going on in the winter. We have basketball, we have tennis, we have badminton. We have all the summer sports that you have. We still have them in the winter. The playing seasons and tournament seasons might be different, but more of the actual playing and you're on a team and intramurals, those are still happening during the winter. You're not only restricted to outside winter sports. So those are options. And I know our varsity stadium actually has a dome. So in the winter, you can play in the outside with a dome on top of the stadium. So technically you're playing outside, but they still have soccer and football and basketball in the winter outside.
There is a skating rink in varsity. So if you're interested in ice skating, I'm not really sure what it would look like now, but there is, they do have drop-in events, and they do have kind of like just, I'm not really sure, like you can drop in, but there's also like scheduled skating times where you can come in with your friends. So I hope that helps a little bit, but we do have a skating rink. If if not on campus specifically, like this is kind of a little bit off campus. There's, there's Nathan Phillips Square, which is kind of like a little bit, like not a little bit, quite off campus. It's like a 20-minute walk-ish if you're interested. And if like, you know, you don't really, if varsity isn't open or anything, then Nathan Phillips Square is like an outdoor skating rink. Obviously, I don't know what it will look like now, but that's something to keep in mind. Sometimes like there's a lot of places close to campus, maybe not on campus if you feel more comfortable going there, or because the beauty of going to U of T, aside from all the other great things about U of T, is that it's a very like central location in downtown. So even if you don't want to, like, for example, eat on campus, there's like so many different places you could go, which is just walks or minutes away from campus. So it's not essential that you have to eat on campus or do specific things on campus, because the beauty of the location is that everything is a walking distance. And so it's really easy for you to kind of venture out and find different places that aren't essentially like on campus, because everything is so close.
Yeah, that's slightly ventured from the sports question. Yeah, also a little, like, I think it's a correction, but skiing and snowboarding, they actually have it a lot of the time off campus. So whenever the U of T sports sections do skiing and snowboarding, they actually go up to Blue Mountain or somewhere up north, which is a little bit like 30-40 minutes from Toronto, where they have huge mountains that you can go skiing in. So I think a lot of the snowboarding and skiing don't actually happen on campus, but those are actually possibilities for you. So you can go ahead and search those out. Always look for the intramural teams. If you search up NCA, which is New College Athletics, they are the intramural team for New College, and they're always there to give you information as well as inform you about the different sports. Okay, we have a question from Kai. How have you guys tried to cook in dorm rooms? So you can't necessarily cook in your own dorm room. They do have the dorm meeting lounges / the dorm lounges.
The shared kitchen kind of.
The shared kitchen, which usually has the fridge and like the stove, the TV, the couches, some seating area. Those are where you can mainly cook. I know a bunch of people who have actually cooked in there, and it's 100% possible. The main thing I would say is just try to be respectable. Don't leave a mess. Try and keep it clean, because you have to remember that it's a shared space. Yeah, I don't think I've ever cooked inside of a dorm room. I haven't
even heard of anyone do that.
I don't think you're allowed to. I think that's against the rules. You can't cook inside your dorm room.
But there isn't much space for you to really cook anything. Like you'll have, like, it's very compact. Like there's space for everything, but there's no like additional space for you to really like set something up to cook. Mm-hmm. Also, yeah, I'm pretty sure like Misty said, you shouldn't be cooking in your dorm room specifically, because that is kind of dangerous. But there is a shared kitchen space in the lounge on your floor, so you can 100% go there, and everyone's usually nice, and you can go ahead, you can make your meal. Like Misty said, just be respectful and mindful that it's a shared space. But obviously this is like all pre-COVID. We're not really sure what it will look like now. Things are obviously going to change a little bit, but hopefully when things go back to normal, then this is what it will look like. So yeah, if you go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to add exactly like Angela was just saying, we won't really know what it's going to look like in the residence specifically in terms of common spaces until probably move-in. And then it will be changing throughout the year based on what's happening around the world and in Toronto. So right now, I wish I could tell you exactly if the common rooms will be open, if the kitchen space will be available and stuff like that, how many people can be in there, so on and so forth. But I think those decisions are waiting intentionally so they can try to give the best advice possible, reflective of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah.
So are there any more questions that we haven't answered? I think, there's one. Have you ever tried to have courses in buildings very far from you? Yeah.
You don't have a choice.
You really don't have a choice.
How courses are scheduled. Like, for example, I think from New College, the furthest place you could have a class is Victoria College.
Oh my God. That's a
not
whole
gonna
trek.
lie,
That's
you
a trek.
actually have to cross multiple streets to get there, like main Toronto streets.
And you cross like Queen's Park. You literally cross the park. So if you see people running, just mind your own business. Okay, everyone's trying to get to class.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not. So New College is just one of the buildings or one of the colleges on campus, and campus is, if you guys haven't been, it's very, very, very large. Like very large is an understatement. It's very large.
It's a massive
So
campus.
classic. So you will have classes outside of New College. Where they will be, we obviously don't know. We can't say. But you will be able to see on Acorn when you register or when you enroll in classes where the class will be. I'll give like a little building code, and you can search up building codes U of T and put in that code, and you'll be able to see like for example, New College. What's the code? NC?
No, it's usually Wilson a lot more. So it's either WE something or it's WI 713 or something, 718.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to find based off of that which building it's in, and a lot of your classes will be very far. Like it just that's just how it is. Like I've had classes in the engineering building. Just that's the way U of T does it, and we just kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
So
like something else, like a little bit, like the campus is sectioned off into different sectors. Like there is like a life science section where they have the chemistry building, like the biology buildings and all that, and then the physics building. But then they also have like a humanities section, which is close to Victoria College, where they have the different sociology classes and the humanities classes. You have near St. Mike's, which is another college where they have more of the humanities and sociologies. We also have like the engineering section where they have a couple different engineering buildings. So it's kind of segmented like that. But a lot of the times I would have a math class in like the humanities building, which is weird, but it happens sometimes. It all depends on the booking. I just think one thing is I don't think you have to worry about it way too much because a lot of the in-person classes have been reduced. So many of you are going to be doing remote or online classes. So I feel like that's not much of a worry this year, but I know you definitely can make it. We've done it. We've run that 15 minutes to get to class in 10 minutes.
In the 10-minute.
Yeah.
And the professors also understand. Like the professors have seen the campus themselves. They know how large it is. And so if you explain to them, hey, I have a class at New College right before this, and you're currently at St. Mike's, let's say, which is quite far away, they'll be understanding of the fact that, like, yeah, you probably had to at least jog.
You have to make, but yeah, like Tyler said, a lot of
experience. I have to say. If you haven't run across Queen Park at least once by the end of first year, you're doing something wrong.
No, 100%. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And like Claire mentioned, profs are super understanding because campus is very large and it's literally impossible to get from one end to another in 10 minutes unless you sprint. So, and it's okay. Like professors are understanding, and you can usually see like where your classes are before or when you enroll on Acorn, unless they switch things around. But yeah, and don't be surprised if you're like a life science student who has a class in Victoria College, because you know, like Misty and I mentioned, that sometimes it just depends on the amount of open classes that they have in that building. And so like if you end up there, don't think that there's anything wrong. Like it is what it is. And sometimes classes change, like they change buildings or they change classrooms. It is what it is. Like you can't really control it. That's
okay. So Kai asked, is having a bike necessary at U of T? I never really rode a bike on campus. If you live on campus and you would like to, by all means, go ahead. We have a bunch of different bike stops. You can always ride your bike. I don't see a lot of people riding their bikes on campus unless like they live there and they're just going for a quick like exercise bike ride. So it's not necessary whatsoever. I have never ridden a bike in the U of T campus. I think small tiny plug, New College behind close to behind Wilcox actually has a place called Bike Chain where you can actually go ahead and rent bikes, as well as if you have your own bike, get it repaired. So if you are going to be on campus, I highly recommend checking out Bike Chain. You have the ability to learn how to fix a bike. Also, they'll rent bikes to you or fix your own bike for you. So check it out.
Yeah, just to jump on that, because I also love Bike Chain. It's also a club in itself to volunteer with if you're interested in bikes at all. So if you want to help people repair bikes, if you want to learn about bikes and stuff like that, I just am talking about this because I really like bikes. And that's absolutely a club you can get involved with.
Definitely. Siddharth asked, have you guys had to deal with any difficult teachers, like unwilling to help or unnecessarily strict? First year teachers are mainly never like that because they are first year teachers, professors. They are there to help you. They understand how hard first year is. They will always be there to help. So not first year, I have not met any difficult teachers. I think more the unnecessarily strict is like some teachers are like may not be lenient. Like for example, a class I took, he didn't accept any late submissions of things if you didn't tell him in advance that you submitting it late. So things like that, as in like if you think you're going to finish an assignment late, make sure to test your professor beforehand and have a valid reason why. Otherwise, some professors may not accept late submissions. Kind of, those are the strict professors that I've come across.
Yeah, I think she pretty much covered it. There will be difficult teachers. Like we can't speak for every single teacher at U of T or every single professor or teaching assistant at U of T. But like there will be some who are a little bit more difficult, or they may not fit your learning style. So it's kind of like a two-way street. Like maybe they teach in a way in where you don't find it that helpful or you don't understand as much. Or maybe they teach in a way and it's fantastic. So it just kind of like, it depends. But yeah.
Yeah. So I'm actually closing the breakout rooms now. So we'll be jumping back to the main room for any final questions and discussion, and then the end of the session.
Jerry or Stella, any thoughts on how to kind of like handle and keep things like focused and ready to go to best prepare yourselves as you're a little bit nervous, but also excited? How do we kind of balance that?
I mean, for me, it's just about like accepting the fact that you're gonna have to take everything one step at a time. Because I know personally, I'm the kind of person that likes to plan like my entire year out or say this is exactly what's gonna happen, and that's what comforts me and makes me feel like I can approach the year with a lot more excitement than nervousness. But with COVID-19 still in place, we just have to acknowledge that we can't know exactly how everything's going to run, and there might be changes throughout the year. So I think just like convincing myself to be open-minded and reminding myself that there are, even as a head peer leader myself, there are so many resources that I can go to if I need help with this new formatting or with not being able to like know everything that's going on. That I think really helps me think that, okay, it's okay. Everyone is experiencing the uncertainty together, which doesn't make it easier for any individual, but it reminds me that it's not me that's like sort of not knowing what I'm doing, it's just the situation, and it's the best we can, as long as we each try our best, that really is the best we can do given the circumstances.
Yeah, I think I'm also both excited and nervous, and I'm about to start my final year at U of T. I've been taking a lot of summer courses, so the transition to online kind of has been going on for a while. And trust me when I say it is, there's still a lot of things that I'm getting used to. But yeah, I'm also very excited, partly because I get to have opportunities like the one I'm having today, meeting a lot of you guys, and also just starting another year at U of T in itself is very exciting. So yeah.
Sure. And so thanks to everyone. So I was just going to say one thing I wanted to kind of do before we start then. Thanks for that, folks. As I was kind of getting some of my notes ready, is I wanted to share with you a quick little visual here, and then we can kind of get into some questions and conversation and those kinds of things as well. I'm just looking for my PowerPoint file, which is right here. Great. So what I wanted us to do, and some of those that are on my team already will be familiar with this, is, should be sharing screen? Great. So if you go to the top of your screen, or maybe in the bottom, depending on what platform you use, there should be an annotate tool. It's a little pencil and it has the word annotate. If you click on that, the toolbar will come up and then it'll have a stamp. And you can put a stamp of like a heart or a star. So I'm just curious where people are, or lines, as I can see going on here. I'm just curious kind of where people are coming from today and where they might be tuning in from, just kind of as we kind of move ahead here. So I love, we got the circles, we got stars, we got hearts, all kinds of things. All right, so we got some folks, looks like India, we have some folks. We have a lot of people in like, looks like eastern part of like Canada, northeast part of Canada, like Toronto area. We have some like Malaysia. No way, Malaysia. I used to live in Malaysia. That's so cool. I used to live in Kuala Lumpur. Amazing. And then we have Japan, looks like Vietnam, parts of China perhaps. Okay, so we have a lot of folks in different times of Paraguay. Sorry, Brazil, excuse me. The way this map's a little labeled might be a little bit tricky for me as I'm kind of going through this. Okay, great. So we're having people from all over the place. And so I think that was actually a point I wanted to kind of just acknowledge here before we kind of get in is a lot of students might be for the year, like living where they came from before. And they might not be necessarily making that trip to Toronto, or maybe you might be coming, but perhaps a little bit later. And so I think I wanted to kind of just illustrate that for each other to kind of say, hey, like we're coming from different places, but we're all coming here to one to kind of connect, get some support, find out more. But I wanted to kind of also let my HBLs kind of know who we're working with and kind of where we're coming from. So that's awesome. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to clear the results here. So if we go back, I wanted to then show, oops, as I put another star on the page, close that. I wanted to kind of just go back here to my team. So let's kind of just have a quick chat, have a check-in, that sort of thing. I know Amy's going to take a moment here just for a quick break here, but let's look at this. So these are some of the questions that each of you folks asked in a previous session with Tyler. So I want to pose these to Stella, to Jerry, and to Amy when she's back in a moment. People are talking about orientation. People are hearing this all the time. Well, what is orientation? It's really important. Or it's really going to be really fun. It's going to be great. I'm just kind of curious, Stella and to Jerry to start. What are you hearing? What are you thinking the New Roots program will be like? What is it? That sort of thing. Tell us more about orientation. Maybe we'll start with Stella and then we'll go to Jerry. You're on mute, Stella. Hold on. You're still on mute. It wouldn't be a Zoom call if there wasn't someone on mute.
Yeah. So no, my fan on my computer is like the worst, so I always mute myself when I'm not speaking. No stress. But anyway, so orientation is really like a very multifaceted opportunity with academic components, social components, time just for you to get to know your leaders and each other. So obviously, even as leaders, and even though we've seen and had our training and seen the schedule, we're not completely certain how orientation is going to really feel with a completely online virtual format. But there are definitely, each day of orientation, there will be group time where you get to work through icebreakers and get to know your leaders and head peer leaders and your fellow newsies like on a more personal level. There's also a lot of Ignite academic events, so such as like learning how to write at a university level as opposed to just a high school level that you might be more familiar with. And then there's a lot of different fun events as well, such as like trivia nights, crafts, just opportunities to like have fun and get to know each other. So orientation is really like a holistic experience that it's designed to ease some of your academic concerns, but most importantly, make you feel like you're really a part of the new college community and that there are other like students of your own group, like your own year, as well as your fellow leaders that have a lot in common with you and are excited about a lot of the same things and really just want to have fun and enjoy the experience of being a new college student, which is an amazing experience to be a part of.
So yeah, Stella pretty much covered everything about orientation. Just to add a few things, this year, of course, we're gonna be running on a different format. But there are things like board games night, trivia nights, and movie nights, and things like that that are geared towards bringing everyone together, creating a fun environment.
Is this Jerry or is that me?
Like information sessions and
oh.
Yeah.
I think you might have lagged out there, Jerry, or maybe that was me. I'm not sure. Was that me that lagged out, folks, or was that him? think in any case, I can hear you now, Jerry. So I think what I took away from that is, yeah, the balance between the academic as well as some of that, like that social community development connection piece.
I don't know.
Is it me frozen? Is it me frozen?
Yeah, it's you.
Oh my
We're
goodness.
just frozen for a bit there.
It's me. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. I thought it was Jerry. My bad.
No.
So sorry. Well then, you know what? I'll let you folks continue while I continue to figure out my internet situation. And so thank you, Jerry. Sorry about cutting you off there. And so I'll just maybe pivot to Amy as I mute myself. Any thoughts on kind of like what to maybe best do to prepare for orientation as well as we're looking into a virtual format, or others can chip in on this too?
Definitely like check out Instagram. Like what I'm pretty sure, or I think Facebook is the one that has like the full schedule, I believe, of all orientation events. So like I think all of the days are already like detailed there. So some of the events already have times, so you can check out which ones you're definitely interested in. I encourage you attending all of them if you're available. But yeah, it's definitely going to be so much fun. I'm definitely looking forward to the video games night. So if you guys have some video games, definitely like come check us out.
Awesome. And so what I would say is, and thanks to the three of you kind of weighing in there, I think what's really important, thank you, or Matthew. Well, I think what's really important to note is that like orientation, as Stella mentioned, is like that holistic experience. We're trying to do a lot of things in a relatively small period of time. The two most important ones are really building a sense of connection for you, having a chance to meet folks, but also having a chance to get some of those skills and experiences needed to start your year off on the right foot. And so that's where the academic sessions really come in. So highly recommend the New Roots program for sure. Okay, so I guess as we kind of move through some of the other questions here, I want to just leave the notice or the reminder to the students attending this program is any questions you want to ask, maybe you don't see listed here, or you want to just kind of get some certainty on, or you're hearing someone say something and you're like, what do you mean by that? Write that in the chat and we can come back to it. Happy to do that as we go. So any questions you have about anything related, even if it's not necessarily student involvement, I can always lend some insight to that as well. Okay, so let's go to our second question here. So what is Sprout? What is the first year experience? Why should I get involved with this? Thoughts on that? Feel free to any of you take this.
I guess I'll start. So Sprout, as Todd showed in like one of the previous slides, it's basically a mentorship program where some of us, upper year students, are connected with the new Cs, and we we try to guide you through things that you might have some problems with in your first year. And this is a year-long program. This year, it obviously started with the newsletters that were sent out, I'm pretty sure bi-weekly. And we talked about, you know, things like our favorite study spot on campus and, you know, what our commute looks like and stuff like that. So basically, it's an opportunity for you guys to ask questions and for us to share our experience with you. So that's basically where Sprout is. Yeah.
Also, Jerry, can you explain what you mentioned new C. Can you explain what a new C is?
Oh yeah, sorry. So new C is what we call incoming students who are joining new college. So you folks basically, and yeah.
Awesome, thanks, Jerry. Maybe Stella or Amy, if you want to kind of take on that second question or the third one. So what is the first year experience and why should you get involved in it?
So definitely actually kind of lets you put dip your foot in the water, so to say. So definitely it's kind of like, it allows you to be more familiar with, if you are, I guess, on campus, it helps you be more familiar with how it goes in UST, what's happening and going around. And also if you're, you know, in Japan or you're in India, it actually, I mean, even with Sprout, I think some of the things that we're talking about and all of our experience, hopefully will actually immerse you into the experience and let you get a feel of like what it's like to be a new college student and kind of like go through, I guess, our journey with us. Because some people share their their transit or their commute to campus or things like that. So definitely kind of helps you be more familiar with new and also University of Toronto as a whole.
Yeah, really just all about connecting with students who may have had some of the experiences that you'll be experiencing the first time. And I think like it's really important as a first year or an incoming student, you have like so many different things to worry about, but being able to connect with like either mentors like through Sprout or just like experiencing the first year experience at New College, you'll be able to better connect with students who have gone through a lot of what you might not be familiar with yet. And I think that makes the transition a lot easier than feeling like you're at it alone. And especially now with like a lot of new changes because of COVID-19, we'll be undergoing like a lot of these changes ourselves the first time. So it's sort of like you're going through like a variety of experiences with other students, and it's just a really unique experience that does allow you to feel more integrated and involved at U of T and especially within the New College community.
What was a great point there, Stella, is that like we are all experiencing our own form of transition for the first time this year. And so I think it honestly, like as we move through this, we'll become much more of a cohesive group. If we're building these kind of rich connections in a remote environment, whenever we are going to be able to be back on campus, it's going to be like, wow, we've had this common experience, which I think will be quite powerful for sure. But I think you're right. That's really important to kind of note that like you're not alone in this, even though it may feel like that in a remote setting. And so that's why that personalized peer leader is there for you. I wanted to just add one small piece before we kind of look at two questions we have in the chat. One is talking about like what is the first year experience, and so I can be more direct and explicit with that. The first year experience is a new offering we have this year at the college. So none of these students got to experience that, but you folks get to. This is the first time really doing this. Is that the point of acceptance, that you took your offer saying, I'm going to be a new college, I'm going to be a U of T new college student, and then into your second year, making your choices, finishing your exams in April time of next year. That's your first year experience for the window. And what that looks like is we are having an upper year peer leader that'll be assigned to you through the entire time. And so whoever's been writing to you this summer on those newsletters will be the same person who will be in your group, who will be your group leader during the orientation of the New Roots program, who will then be your mentor throughout the fall, winter for Sprouts. So the point is we're trying to build those connections as Jerry was talking about. It's really important for us this year. Awesome, great feedback there, folks. So I'm gonna kind of just maybe open this up to anyone for the HPL group. I'm seeing two questions. One from Matthew was asking, so like, when can I join clubs? Like, how do I do that? Any insight to that? Where the opportunities might be, when they can do it?
So in the new college orientation schedule that I kind of pull up right now, on Monday, there's actually like a drop-in clubs fair. That's like from 1 to 3 p.m. So if you're interested in any clubs, feel free to just join in. And also you can, I believe there's some websites for specific to University of Toronto where there's a complete list of all the clubs that we have available. And I believe most of the clubs are in virtual format, so definitely anyone and everyone can join in, no matter where you are in the world.
Any other insight to the clubs, Jerry or Stella?
Yeah, so pretty much that. For New College specifically, we'll be having a virtual clubs fair, and for other clubs, obviously this year things are gonna be a little different, but they will reach out, and I'm gonna put a link to all of the clubs if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. I was about to ask someone to do that. That'd be perfect.
Right. So here, it is pretty much an exhaustive list of all the clubs at UT. And if you want to join any of the clubs, just feel free to shoot them an email. And the people at all of the clubs are really friendly, and they're going to have, incoming students join their clubs. So yeah.
Yeah, I know personally when I was going into first year over the summer, I did exactly that. I started out with the ULife website and sort of gauged some of the like different things I might be interested in, and then either emailed the club representative or like just shot a quick message to the club's Facebook page about how I might be able to get involved. And I think it's important that like depending on whether you're looking for general membership or executive, like first year rep positions, like there's a lot of different clubs take people at a lot of different times. Like for example, like something I'm in starts like first year rep positions in August, which I think is strange, but other things like are continuing to accept membership in September, October, or even perpetually. So I think it's good to scout, if you're really interested in getting involved and keen on it, to start like scouting out ULife and sort of map out some of the things you want to reach out to, so that way you don't miss the deadlines. But in terms of like resources, I think that ULife website is the best place. And also just like follow pages on their social media, because I know some of the things I'm involved in are already spamming like join us on this and that. So you won't miss it if you like start looking now.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, great. I think clubs are a great way to have campus involvement. They're not the only way, but they're definitely a really strong way to kind of build some social connection, community, some leadership skills, practice what that looks like. And I know that I think a couple of you are also in different organizations or different clubs as well. Maybe what Amy, if you can pull up the link to the New College orientation page for the schedule, just so we can clarify the date and time for the New College Clubs Fair. New College Clubs Fair is specific to clubs at New College, so they're ones that are actually housed in our building. Doesn't mean though that you can only register for those. As Jerry, thank you for sending that link. I think it's about 900 or so clubs on campus, give or take. And you can find them all by interest, keyword search at the link that Jerry provided. Excellent resource there, Jerry. Thanks so much. Hopefully that answered that question there, Matthew. I saw another question earlier. Someone asked, I can't recall, going up. Oh, so it looks like Amishi is asking, on the website and emails, I'm seeing that there are 2 orientations to sign up for. However, there's only 1 sign up form. Are the orientations overlapping or something like that? I'm gonna just quickly answer that one really quickly. Yes, so what happens is if you identified yourself as an international student, then you got the opportunity to register for both New Journeys and New Routes. If you're not identifying yourself as an international student, you only get to go to New Routes. So they don't overlap in terms of content. They don't overlap in terms of schedule. They're meant to be sequential. So you're on week 2 of New Journeys right now. Week 1 of New Routes begins next Monday, and this program will be over by then. So they're actually meant to be done in order. If they're out of order, if you ever watch a recorded session, that's totally fine. But in terms of the delivery for live content, they won't have any overlap. So they're meant to be attending both. They're distinctly different programs. Okay, and then I see Kanish asking, what are the food options? Maybe you can be a little bit more specific on what you're asking there. Are we talking about in the dining hall? I'm guessing that might be similar to our last question here. Kanish, we want to just help us get a little more clarity what you mean on that. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to say, if you get a little more specific on what you're asking for food, I'll come back to that question. Maybe what we can do is pivot back to the pre-ones here, folks, and then we'll go back to the chat in a moment. A student asked this last week. They're saying, I'm afraid if I'm involved, I won't have time to focus on my studies and my grades are going to suffer. Did you have that concern in first year? Maybe as a follow-up question, what did you do to overcome it?
Oh, I guess I'll start off with this one. Because it's something like I'm still concerned about, and I'm going in the 3rd year. I think first year for me, like I was probably like, I'm a head peer leader now, but I was literally the biggest mess in first year. I really wanted to get involved, and I did, but I think I like really needed to, like, just because my stress levels are through the roof, I needed to sort of like take it easy, because I think I tried a lot of different things and then didn't give my best self to all of them, and ended up like skipping events that I probably shouldn't have in a variety of things. So I think like I think it's always good to get involved. I think you should definitely get involved in something that's not your 5 courses that are going to be stressing you out, even if you do love them. So I definitely say you 110% should get involved, and that getting involved in something will actually like make the experience better, provide you a more positive mindset, and therefore actually help you like when you need to study, like be more focused and less burnt out if you are doing something else you're involved in and excited about. But if also you have to acknowledge that like if you're the kind of person in high school that did like a million extracurriculars every hour you weren't in school, that might not necessarily be feasible at the university level, and that might cause a detriment like on your grades, because you do need to be studying like significantly more for university courses than high school. So I think it's definitely like a matter of balance, which is really hard to establish in first year when so many new experiences that are exciting and scary and all sorts of emotions are coming your way. So I definitely think getting involved like with one or two things that you're really passionate and excited about will actually improve your mental health and therefore help your performance. But if you get too involved and like are sort of like just try everything, want to do everything, like the idea of being able to do everything in university doesn't work as well as it did in high school. So I guess that's just like my experience with that. But yeah.
Jamie, or sorry, Jerry or Stella, sorry, oh my gosh. Jerry or Amy, want to weigh in on that one? Excuse me.
Sure. So definitely I'm on the same boat with Stella. I was very overwhelmed in my first year. I was like, especially with the club fair, because there were so many booths that are just coming at you. And then there are so many opportunities available at the University of Toronto, especially with such a big university like the University of Toronto. There's so many things that you can basically do. There's like I remember there's like archery. There's also like some clubs based on your programs or like programs like when you're taking them in your upper years. So there are different types of clubs. And so yes, definitely one of the things that I was trying to follow was like be involved in one or two things that you're definitely passionate about. Perhaps you're like very invested in like leadership stuff and gear yourself towards that. I mean, think about like, it's not just your first year, right? You're here for the next 4 years, 5 years. You're here for like the long run. So even if you're not involved in your first year, there's always an opportunity to be involved in like the next semester, the next year. So you don't have to worry about like doing everything first year, definitely.
Yeah, I think Amy made a great point because I didn't really get involved in a lot of things in my first year or the first part of my second year for that matter. But yeah, I think it's about finding your passion and kind of, you know, trying to be patient. You know, things that interested me didn't really come to me until like the end of the second year, but I think that's okay. There are a lot of opportunities out there, and you know, here I am involved in, you know, student leadership and stuff. But yeah, it's not like I don't think, you know, we need to give ourselves pressure to get involved in everything, but it's more about pacing ourselves and finding good opportunities. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. So Stella, go ahead.
I was just gonna say one more thing. Get involved because you really want to, not because you think you should. Because U of T you'll meet like some of the most amazing people ever, but it's those also people that are very competitive. And I think you should not let yourself be convinced that because, say, you're a pre-med student, you need to do this and this and this and this. Like, that will make you suffer if you're joining things because you think you should rather than because you want to. So definitely, like, prioritize doing something just because you really want to, rather than because you think it'll look good or everyone else is doing it, so I should too.
I think it's a great.
I want to add something to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, with that said, with what Stella said, so essentially also don't be afraid to go out of your comfort zone, because there are some clubs that like maybe you think you're interested in, but and then you want to go into it, but you're kind of scared about like what it looks like. I mean, I also recommend like maybe try it out, see how it goes. Yeah, definitely don't be afraid, because there's a lot of flexibility in terms of the clubs around you, and then also new college.
Well, that's great. And thanks everyone for kind of weighing in. I think it's important for students to find like, you know, involvement helps with building community, building connection, feeling like you're a part of something, which is really important for students in their first year particularly. But I think as Jerry's mentioning, it's about doing it at the pace that makes sense for you. And if that means that that's in your second year, great. I mean, like case in point, as Jerry mentioned himself, right? Like took a little while to get engaged and now doing awesome, great things, finding connections, doing great work. So, and then still to Stella's point, yeah, don't do it because you feel the obligation to, do it because you want to. And so that's kind of fun. And I think kind of just like really exciting to think about. So, right, I think the last question here we have of our predetermined questions is talking about what's food like, what's residence like. We'll start with the food question. So I just kind of worked on a private message with Kanish back and forth. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Asking about like what kind of dishes are offered, what kind of food can we expect? And maybe to any of you who've lived in residence before, eaten in our dining halls or on campus with our food, any thoughts about what people can expect from types of food there?
I'll just put a link on like the upcoming meal plan at New College. So they did change the format this year, I believe. So instead of what used to be a buffet format, now it's kind of like a thing to pick and choose or something. So you kind
call
of
it
have
a la carte,
set,
yes.
Yeah, okay. So essentially what you have, I think you can choose between like a standard meal plan and then a light meal plan. So then you kind of have a set amount of residence dollars, and then you kind of use that to pay for the food that you'll be getting throughout U College. I believe that's how it works.
Yeah, it has switched. Typically, we used to have buffet style. We've switched to one where it's like a la carte, meaning you can pick the items you want. You don't want to have a huge meal. You don't spend money for the huge meal. You can just go in, grab a coffee and a muffin and leave if you wanted to. Or if you want to have a larger meal, then you have the opportunity to do that. So there's a change in structure. I think that's great context, Amy. And I'd encourage folks to check that link out in the chat. I guess more broadly then about types of food offered, things you've had. Maybe is there like a favorite food you had when you were living in? I don't know, those kind of things.
Yeah, there's definitely like a lot of different options, vegetarian, halal options as well. Stella also like lived in residence. And yeah, so,
a hot mic.
Don't talk about stuff in college. No camera, no one.
I got it.
Sorry. Oh.
Oh, good.
Okay, cool. But yeah, so yeah, there are definitely a bunch of different options. So for sure, most likely you're gonna find like what you like with the resident food, and apparently New College has the best food on campus, so you have that to brag about.
Anyone else want to kind of weigh in on the food piece, or maybe get more clarity from the question from Kanishk as well? Anyone wants to weigh in on food though?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about the food. So yeah, there are a lot of options. Obviously this year things are changing up a little bit, but I think my favorite meal at the CAF tends to be breakfast, because you can have things like yogurt, salad, freshly cut fruit, and then there are things like milk, chocolate milk, all sorts of things. And then comes lunch and dinner time. You can have pizza if you want. There are vegetarian, vegan options, halal options. So yeah, my favorite single item is probably the salad bar, if that makes sense, because I get to build my own stuff. But yeah, it's great food.
And also going to bring the attention to Amy saying in the chat, we also have a registered dietitian at New College in the dining hall. So if that's something that people are curious about, they have certain dietary accommodations, allergens, preferences, those kinds of things. We have a person that actually works on staff. There you go, to reach out and get some support from our food services team. So thanks for providing that information there, Amy. That's really helpful. That might be something that maybe people want to think about. But we have a lot of students that have things like halal. I think kosher is less popular, but we do have the ability to accommodate that. Vegetarian, vegan options, salad bar is super popular, as Jerry mentioned. I would say for on-campus food, it's one of the better places I've been at. That's what I would say. Students typically don't go hungry. There's a lot of options for them to choose from. So hopefully that answers your questions there. And I think I may have saw one more question, but if I don't, actually that might be it. What are other things people are curious about, looking for, getting clarity on, that you want to ask some students that were just like you not that long ago? Because it's a pretty cool opportunity to do this. Oh, sorry, someone else asked before. I missed one question, sorry. If I missed all the Zoom meetings before this, is there a place I can access the agenda or the points covered in these Zoom calls? Definitely, we can do that. What I would say is I'll follow up with Tyler. Maybe if you can stick on the call when the breakout ends, we can go back to the main room and we can ask Tyler just to double check. But to my understanding, what we're doing is on the Presence webpage, on the session when it has the live link, once the session's over, about 24 hours later, we're posting these recordings. So I'm 99% sure that's where it is, but I can double check. So that would be on the Presence webpage under New Journeys, under each of the sessions that you missed. You can just go on there. We'll have the embedded video for that. hopefully that answers that question. Okay, other questions people have. What do we want to know? What are we curious about? Okay, I'm seeing Sierra's asking the question. How can first-year students get involved in the New College Student Council? Who wants to take that one? I can help if we're not as sure.
They do have an NCS, it's called NCSC, like or page on Instagram. So you can also check that out for like some positions. I believe they are actually, hiring something, or not hiring, but like kind of inviting some students to be more involved. But there are also elections that are coming up soon. So like when the academic year starts, there's going to be like different positions opening up, like mental health. There's also, I think, first year reps, and then a whole other positions as well on New College Student Council. Yeah, my NCSE.
And I would just maybe add to that one, just for how there's three types of involvement in terms of a New College Student Council. There's, as Amy mentioned, elected positions where you run a campaign, people can vote for you. Most first-year students apply for the first-year representative position, but there are a few other ones that first-year students are eligible for. There's also the IFP representative, if you're an International Foundations Program student. So that's an election. Then there's the hired positions, as Amy alluded to, which NCSC, our New College Student Council, is hiring for right now. They have like graphic designers and webmasters and those kinds of things. So that interests you, that can be a great place to get involved that way. There's also committees. And so it's less advertised, but it's something that if you're curious about a certain topic or you want to just be able to go to meetings and learn about what the heck's going on with the student voice on campus, that's what NCSC is. If people are like, what's student council? Maybe you have that in your high school days. They're the representative of students. They're the voice on campus for people like you. And so you can attend their meetings. They have them open to any one of their membership, who you all would be. I act as an advisor to that group, so I know a lot of their work, but really cool group, really encourage involvement in terms of having voice on campus. Maybe Stella or Jerry, anything to add on the involvement piece with NCSC, or are we good to kind of move forward? I don't know if Stella had involvement with it, or Jerry, if you had involvement with that before, so we can move if that's the case. Okay, no problem. Okay, how to receive the virtual orientation kit for signing up for orientation. Also, what about the New College apparel? Also, it's very exciting for me. I'm so sorry, as I'm so away from U of T. Okay, well, great question, great comment. Thanks for sharing. So let's start with the first part. Again, I can maybe help with some of the pieces if we don't know, but maybe I'll start with the HPLs. Anything about the virtual kit, thoughts on that thus far, updates, or I can weigh in if you're not sure. If you're not sure, just say, like, point to me. Okay, I maybe can answer that one a little bit. No problem. And so just for the sake of the students not knowing, it's because a lot of this is the planning that, like, as opposed to the student experience. So I can kind of weigh in here. Don't mean to overstep. So in terms of the virtual orientation kit, we're looking to send it out, I think, for Monday of next week. So you haven't missed anything. We also have a physical orientation kit. So whenever the day comes that you are able to come to campus, we'll have that waiting for you at the college, ready for you to pick up. So if it's like, oh, I can't make till January, that's okay. I can't make till next year, that's okay too. We'll make sure that we're storing those for people. But for a virtual kit, we have things, I'm not sure if people know about Animal Crossing, but we have like, like in Animal Crossing, you can get like custom shirts. So we have that. We have like our Spotify playlist for orientation based on mood. We have like Instagram stickers that you can like put on your story and stuff like that have our mascot and things like that. So a lot of fun virtual items will be in our kit that you can get for free just by registering. Those should be coming out, I believe, on Monday of next week. And then what about New College apparel? I can maybe pivot to anyone who wants to add on to that, or I can also give context to that from a college perspective. So New College apparel, do you have any? How do you find it, guys?
So I chime in on this. So obviously, I don't know if you guys can see, but I'm wearing the orientation leader shirt from last year. And again, this year things are probably going to be different, but if you participate in orientation, you might be able to get a shirt like this. And in terms of like merchandise and apparel, there will be flash sales throughout the year. And I think there was one either last year or the year before. I've been here way too long. So, but yeah, there will be things like, you know, t-shirts, hoodies, and other apparel available. And yeah, just look out for those things. They're gonna be kind of everywhere.
And then, yeah, NCSC, the New College Student Council, yes, they have sales for apparel every year. And then, yeah, involvement. I think they're the best ways. There are a lot of U of T apparel. If you go to the bookstore, it's a nice place to kind of find some stuff about that as well. Amy, thanks for posting the link there to our YouTube page. In case you've missed any sessions, we post a lot of our things on there from our summer welcome, for sure. I think I saw one more question. I also want to recognize our time, and we got to go back to whole group in a moment. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. And then also, Amishi, yeah, just wanted to say, like, we're also, like, I'm not sure if you can tell, but like, you're in my apartment at home. This is not my office. And so all the students are doing the same thing as well. We also are missing campus. We're also excited to get back to campus. When that is for sure, we're not quite positive, but just knowing that, like, we're all kind of in this together in some way, and we're looking forward to kind of staying connected in this way. And so I'm so glad that each of you came today, because this is a great way to stay connected in a place that might be hard to find that structure and that support. Any last questions before we go back to the whole group and say goodbye to everyone? Okay, UT sessional dates, the class will be on September 10th. The NT orientation is to the 11th. I can just do a quick answer to that one. There is overlap, but we always encourage students, you're a student first, and student involvement comes second, even though student involvement is really important. So if you have a class, go to the class. All of our sessions are going to be recorded. You can always check it out later. That said, if you're not doing anything else, you don't have class, come check us out. So Jeanette, to answer that question really quickly, they do overlap. That is on purpose. We know that. The content we design on those 10th and 11th dates are meant to be drop-in style, so that students can go to class and then come in, or they can come in and then jump to class if they have to. And so Tyler's going to end the breakout for us in a second. We're going to go back to the whole group. We'll have a last-minute check-in. I think there was one or two more questions we wanted to ask Tyler specifically, so we can get to him there. Hey, welcome back, Tyler. Just saying, any live orientation going to be held on Zoom? Yeah, so New Roots is going to be held in the same way that this is here. I will say there will be the odd offering that will be on a platform called, great question, by the way, a platform called MS Live Events, or Microsoft Live Events. We have a couple sessions that are not New College specific. They're actually University of Toronto specific. And for those sessions, we're going to have a larger group. It'll be a different platform, but all the links are just clickable. You log in with your UTAR ID, you're good to go. So it's not too complicated, nothing too wild there. Those will be for our consent session. That'll be also for our pre-U of T session. That might be it. So just 95% of the time we'll be on Zoom though. Any other questions before we call? There's also a question about pre-U of T. I can answer that as you're doing that. So Matthew asked, is pre-U of T part of orientation week? So if you want to be technical about it, I guess it's technically not, because anyone can attend this one, but we built it into the schedule. And so pre-U of T essentially is a one and a half hour, I think, offering. That is the only opportunity you get to meet people from your program. Now, if you are in the IFP, we still have to figure out what that looks like for folks that are in the IFP. And so Tyler and I are going to work on that a little bit more in hindsight, just thinking Tyler. But beyond that, though, it's a program that lets you meet with professors, upper year students in the programs that you'll be studying, and have a chance to get some more academically focused questions and support from people in the program. So short answer is that it technically isn't part of the program, but really it's built into the schedule. So let's consider it part of the program. So is there going to be a major specific orientation? So, Amishi, great question. So at U of T, at St. George campus, there actually isn't that, unlike other universities, perhaps in Canada or in the US. Our programs of orientation are based on college. And so that's why the New College orientation is the one you're looking for. Unless you are in Rotman Commerce, there might be a little bit of specific stuff for you, or engineering. Outside of that, your orientation programs are actually geared to the college that you're from. So if you're in Rotman or if you're in engineering, let me know, direct message me and I can direct you to those. But even still, those programs are you're also meant to attend the college that you're a part of. So that means if you're an IFP, if that means that you are a New College student, you're in the right place. There's not something that you're missing. Hopefully that answers that question. Other than that, happy to stick around for a few more minutes to any last minute questions, but I think we're pretty much good to go. Wanted to just say thank you to our amazing set of head peer leaders. They're gonna have a chance to meet you in less than a week now. So get ready to meet these lovely folks. There's about 70 on our team. These are 5 of our awesome ones. We have a large team. So check your emails if you haven't already for those New Roots emails, those digests for checking in, and we'll see you really soon. Super excited about that. Thanks to Tyler for co-facilitating with me today. Great. Someone's asking, is a T card necessary to access U of T facilities, but the campus is closed, so we can't get our T card? How can we access them without the card? So right now, to my understanding, is that you can actually get your T card in a remote setting, Tyler. Am I correct in that? I think you can.
I believe so, yes. It's a digital T card. But what they are doing effectively is they're giving you everything that a T card would give you. It's just not a physical thing you're holding. So they're activating your U2 ID. They're letting you get access to your U of T email. They're putting you in the system. There's just no physical card.
Yes. So you can get a digital T card right now. I also don't know what services and facilities are actually available right now, though. So I don't know if a lot of the athletic centers, for example, are open. But you are able to access your T card. Just Google U of T T card office. That'll pull up their page, and they'll tell you how to actually register for your card remotely. And then a follow-up question, how can we check whether we've successfully registered for New Roots? You know what, let me, hold on. I'm trying to think the best way to do that. I think the best way to do that would be able to say when you log into Presence, you'll see an experience that says New Journeys. You'll also see one that says New Roots. If you're unsure, just flip an email to the following address and what to put in, new.orientation.utoronto.ca. Write an email to that just being like, hey, I wanted to make sure that I registered properly for New Roots. They'll be happy to answer your questions there. Those of you that are watching later, thanks for tuning in and sticking this far. Those that are here, thanks for sticking this far as well. Hopefully we'll have a chance to see you watch our recorded video tomorrow, and then see you to watch Jerry and Tyler do some physical exertion on Wednesday for a tour of campus. So until then, please take care, take it easy, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was wonderful seeing you again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Bye.